February the 14th, 2022. Guys, you're looking at satellite images over the continental U.S. You can see Mexico and parts of southern Canada across the top. Notice in the center of the country, from Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, all the way up north of Colorado, and then all the way over into the basically North Carolina. You see that line? You've got Tennessee in there. You've got Kentucky. It's been very dry. Even though we had that winter weather come through, the winds that have been coming through and the bright sunshine that we've been seeing has really got the ground dry. And these high winds now have a large part of this section that you're seeing under red flag warning, which means don't burn, because the fires can get out of control very quickly. Now let's look at the map. Your hot pink areas are what's called red flag warnings. Don't burn in these areas. It's been dry, and you've got wind that will cause any type of fire to get out of control very quickly. It's just too dry right now. Up in the northeast, you've got gale warnings offshore. In the northwest, you've got winter weather advisories. In Florida, in very North Florida and South Georgia, on the East Coast, you've got frost advisories for tonight. Last night, guys, as that front continued to hold here in this area and all these clear skies, it's allowing the radiation from the sun to escape back through the atmosphere. The clouds are like a blanket. And we were in the 20s in the wind chill factors, so maybe a little below freezing normal temperatures here. And that's drifting a little further east, and you can see it in these frost advisories. So if you got crops, pets, things like that outside, be very mindful of it. You got gale warnings and small craft warnings in many areas along the coast in that light pink, just because of the wind. We need this pattern to change. We need to be able to plant. And guys, excuse me, let me say this. You've heard me talk about our greenhouses probably for 10 years and our garden every year and things like that. Usually show some of the vegetables that we get out of there. And this year, I think if you decide to plant or not, could be a life or death decision, because the supply lines are in really bad shape. Possibly it's all planned. And we see, I'm on the freedom side of what's going on with our truckers. And there's sacrifices that will have to be made by all of us because of that. But they are, if you think about the Ayn Rand book, Atlas Shrugged, that is what we're seeing. Remember, you had union strikes, steel worker strikes, railroad strikes, all in that. And it was about this scenario that we're seeing now. Very good book, regardless if you like the author or not. She was well ahead of her time. And could that be because of ties to groups that knew what was going to go down? More than likely. We see symbolism everywhere, even in the game yesterday. Tremendous amount of info there in the deciphering of what I saw. Watched the halftime just to see what was going on. At least it wasn't Madonna falling off the back of the stage with some horns on her head. But it was still very symbolic to exactly what's going on today with the high energy levels and the control. Maybe we can get into that deeper. A lot of people are kind of coming out about some of the things they saw. But it reminded me of Australia in a lot of ways. But guys, let me say this. Regardless of how you feel about certain things, you need to plant gardens. This spring, you need to start getting your plants ready now. You can do it inside by planting seeds in the trays, in your greenhouse, whatever. You need to be prepared early to have early crops planted. I don't care if you got to till up half your backyard. The supply lines are not good shape, I think by design. And if you're not prepared to feed yourself, then you're going to be in very bad shape. You got a couple of scenarios there. Just straight out starvation, or you have to make a decision to where you want to get in the food lines and whether you ever come back out of that food line. And the people that are going to do what I say, that have prepped and are preparing to get their gardens. I don't care what you gave. I don't care how big a spot you got. You better make full use of it. And you can look up on YouTube about gardens in the city, small gardens like that, and how you can really take advantage of small spaces. And then for you guys that got the land, plant plenty, because you probably have family that won't. We're planning on doing that. We do it every year anyway, but I'm going to plant a little more. I'm going to clear a little extra spot so that we can do that. But again, it's going to be whether or not you can make it through the tsunami of the design chaos, the shortages, the other things that we see coming down upon the entire planet. So make decisions now. And I know, and it's a true fact, that God has our back. And that some people will say this, that, even that the birds didn't have a place to live or anything else, but God took care of them. He did. But he gave you a level of intelligence and a level of ability to construct, build, plant, design that the animals don't have, because they're not tied up in the material world like we are. But that's why people listen to him, from Noah preparing for that 5 months when they were going to be basically trapped inside the ark, which is the same time of the locust army. It's mentioned there in Revelation. 5 months is an important period of survival. But from the story of Joseph and the dreams, and the dream that he told Pharaoh the meaning of, 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. What did he do? Did he sit there and say, well, God said he was going to take care of us? No, he got to working and building these great silos and gathering grain from around the entire area and storing it. Had enough to feed the surrounding nations for those 7 years of famine. Many of the people in that area would not have survived if it had not been God giving Joseph that interpretation to give to Pharaoh. But it wasn't, they didn't sit on their butt and do nothing, or they would have all starved, and God would have let them starve. But he sent someone that he knew would take care of business, that had the intelligence to do it. And I mentioned in the video, maybe a week or so ago, that I pre-bought some fertilizer, and because there's supposedly going to be shortages this spring. And if you don't have your seeds yet, you can order them now. And one of the places that I've used for years is a company called Hazard, just like Dukes of Hazzard, Hazzard Seeds. I think they're in Michigan. Used them for years and years and years. Placed a new order today. I freeze my extra ones every year. And just restocked with a bunch of spring vegetables and early vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, onions, some extra tomato seeds, and a few other things. I can't remember everything on the list, but again, Hazard Seeds, and they are a family operation, and I've been doing business with them. I'm not affiliated, and I don't make any money with them. I'm just suggesting to you that you'll have the best variety to pick of over hundreds of vegetables, so you can kind of pick what you want, and it will tell you about if it's cold climate, warm climate, all of that information that you need to know. But if you don't step up now, get your fertilizer, get your seeds ready, get your ground ready as soon as it's time in your area, and plant as early as possible. Use your greenhouse to sprout your seeds now, because you're going to need that. You're going to need this early growth. I have a feeling that it's not going to be good very much longer. We've seen for the last year grocery shelves depleted, prices going up, inflation's up at one of its highest points. And let me say this, in the video about the fertilizer, I just thought about this. A lot of people said, well, you really don't need, like triple 13 and all. But there's so many places, guys, that cannot get animal manure and fertilize like that. And everybody can't get it. And if you're planting thousands of acres of corn or something like that, there's not that much to go around. So If you have the natural fertilizers, that's the best. If you don't, prepare. And I use triple 13 to back up the other things I use. But there's going to be a shortage. Go ahead and get enough fertilizer for about the next 3 seasons. Just listen to what I'm saying. That's what I did. And I went early before they started selling it, really. They went back in the warehouse and broke out a pallet that was of these, I guess, 50-pound bags that were wrapped in plastic. And so it hadn't been, they don't even have it out really displayed. This is the time to get it. It's up about 25% from last year, 20 to 25%, around $20 a bag, going from last year 15. But that's what's happening. The cost of transportation's going up. Inflation's going up. You better prepare right now to get ready to plant. Guys, and you don't have to have a large greenhouse at all to sprout your seeds. You can do that inside, or you can build a box. And I've got, in my greenhouse, I have a smaller greenhouse that's about 2 feet long, and it's about 2 feet high. It has a little top that opens up, and it's extra insulation for your seeds. And this one at that 2x2 size will hold 8 trays that go from, depending on the size of the tray, about 33 plants each. And if you got 8 of those, you can do the math on it. Get that stuff ready now and prevent yourself from becoming too hungry and being forced to get into that one-way food line. We're watching it. You watch it. Guys, please heed these warnings and take care of business now. It's a heads up. Be safe.